Human parity is the idea that you can create an agent, this AI, that is exactly like a human in every single noticeable way. It's extraordinarily difficult to achieve, but it is the pinnacle of sort of voice research at the moment.
Welcome to Tip the Scales podcast. It's a Jenn Gore takeover. I'm here with Hilton from caseflood.ai, and we had an amazing conversation. We were talking about voice AI in the legal space, his background in tech, and how he's quite old now at 19, why Combinator, Alex Hormozi, and all of his insights of how to bring AI agents into your law firm. Ethan.
Hey. Jenn.
Welcome to Tip the Scales podcast. Can you go ahead and introduce who you are, tell us what company you're with, and just a little bit about your background?
Totally. My name is Ethan. I'm the founder and CEO of caseflood.ai. We're the AI legal intake team for law firms. So we take people from inbound callers all the way to closed signed clients.
And tell me, when you say that, like a little bit more about what that actually means.
Yeah. So usually have a team of intake specialists doing this task, team of receptionists. We are in the business to use AI to replace, not augment. And so...
hold on. So there's been a lot of AI people,
Yes.
Companies out there who say, we're here to make your people faster, better, quicker. You're actually saying we want to be able to eliminate labor costs.
I mean, that's the biggest use of AI, right? The ultimate goal here is to basically make the firm where the only people you actually need are the litigators. And the rest of the support staff can be replaced with simply AI agents.
Because there's a lot of repetitive tasks and there's human error.
Right.
So just to visualize that, let's just walk through, like, what does a call with an AI agent sound like, feel like?
Yes. So up until this point in sort of AI history, you would probably imagine calling into, say, like your bank, and you're going to have this really annoying IVR, press 1 for this, press 2 for that.
What is an IVR for everyone who's listening?
Oh my God. Yeah, it's basically just like a phone tree.
A phone tree.
Yeah, so...
Like press 1.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then they'll be like, you're in queue for 30 minutes until representative can... And that's the worst. And so we've moved past that.
We just want to hang up on that.
Oh my God. I actually...
Give me a human.
I had to rent an Avis car, and it was the most miserable thing ever because I had to go through it. And they used some sort of AI. And so I think this is what people are kind of expecting, where it said, okay, it's like, read back out to me these digits. And I said the digits and said, yeah, they repeated it back to me, and it was wrong. I was like, no, it was this. And oh my God. So it's not that. So in this space, obviously, these are real people that have real situations. And so they're expecting to talk to someone that can build a real human connection. And so at the end of the day, we are AI researchers at heart. And we've built an agent that has the goal of reaching human parity, basically.
And it has a name?
Luna. That's what we call her.
And she's an AI agent. And describe, what does that mean to, kind of parity a human?
Yeah. So human parity is this thing that we work towards really hardly, and people in the voice research community work really towards. It's the idea that you can create an agent, this AI, that is exactly like a human in every single noticeable way. It's extraordinarily difficult to achieve, but it is the pinnacle of sort of voice research at the moment.
Because people want to feel they're talking to a human.
Yes.
And they don't want the little, ticks that give away that it's not a human, right?
At this point, there's a lot of these guys where it's not so little of a tick. It's pretty miserable, actually.
Okay. So how did you develop this?
Yeah.
Seems like a pretty big challenge, Ethan.
Yeah. It's not easy. And I think a lot of people, they've sort of touched an LLM, like OpenAI, ChatGPT, and they think the natural next step, this makes a lot of sense in how to build. But at the end of the day, it's the answer is a lot of math, and I'm not going to go into all of that.
I don't think anyone wants that, but I'm saying, what were the things that you thought about, that kind of helped you develop a product that is different than other products? Yeah.
It does come down to research, right? Like, our group is phenomenal. They come from the greatest research labs in the entire world in terms of this space. But we have guys that are rumored to have worked on Siri, the AirPods brought forth some of the most advanced conversational AI in the world.
So I've been talking to a lot of companies that are doing AI from, all different touch points in legal.
Right.
And what I've heard throughout, a lot of these conversations is the race to build great AI is really contingent on talent.
Yes.
Like the talent that
Absolutely.
the companies have is really the differentiator.
Yes.
And so how does a lawyer kind of, navigate that or evaluate different companies and say like, well, which ones are going to win this race on AI?
Yeah. I mean, I think this is sort of the telltale sign that the people in the tech community have already adopted. But whenever you're talking to an AI vendor, I would really ask, what is the AI they're actually using?
Okay, let's go very basic here because that's a simple question you can ask.
Yeah.
And what would be some of the responses that you would see that are no bueno and bueno?
Well, I think the no bueno is if they don't know at all, first off. I see that more often than you'd think.
Okay, so tell me what that answer sounds like.
They'd be like, yeah, we use some proprietary models that we've made in-house. And the answer is like, no, they haven't. They haven't. And so if any sales rep is telling you that, they're bullshitting you and they don't know the technology they're building on. So that's sort of the lowest of the low.
Then we have what's called AI assist level AI.
Right. And so that does make sense in some scenarios right now. I think there are a lot of companies that are still doing human-in-the-loop AI assisted where they don't need to anymore.
What does that even mean? Why is there a human in the AI loop?
So obviously AI is not 100% accurate in every single area. And so some companies, in order to compensate for a lack of talent in making the AI perfect, they use humans in the loop to be able to actually make sure the AI is saying stuff that they would want to say too.
So is it like an audit?
It's like an audit. Exactly.
So the first level of AI is like it comes through, it's like, 80%, and then they...
Right. And so if you have a team that's phenomenal, you don't need a human in the loop. A team that's phenomenal in AI.
Say that again for the people in the back.
If your product is built correctly and the AI is trained correctly, you do not need a human in the loop.
You would go toe-to-toe on any other AI vendor on that.
Yes. Yeah, for voice, absolutely.
Is this widely accepted in the tech world?
It's a big debate. It used to be a bigger debate, but now we're starting to see that there are companies that are able to do real enterprise transactions and use cases where no human is necessary and an AI handles all of it.
What is the downsides of having a human involved in the AI?
Well, obviously the biggest thing is cost and time, right? Like
the two things AI is trying to get
exactly,
back.
Exactly. Like it's going to take a lot of money to build a team of people that are all viewing this thing and checking, because if it's humans checking an AI, then chances are it's a high skill thing they're checking, right? Like for some other companies, they need like a paralegal to be checking in or something in that sense. And so that's expensive. And obviously it takes time for people to review things and go through it. And so all the typical things that we want to replace.
In your product, you're saying, the goal is to be without humans. How are you cross-checking for hallucinations?
Yeah. I mean, so we have a team of engineers that are constantly going through logs and going through and seeing if there's any sort of situations in which something was said that wasn't supposed to be said, a person that might have been told a thing that's not exactly true. And so we're checking with the firm, saying like, hey, in this situation, they said this. Is that what you wanted?
And then it's reteaching it?
Yes, absolutely. Because AI is self-learning. But if you don't have a team that's there to guide the learning, then it'll go in a direction that's probably not wanted.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're newer in the legal space in terms of your company. When did you guys start?
About 7 months ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you tell me, we've had this conversation before, but I want to make sure we talk about it today. How did this idea come to you?
So this isn't my first legal company.
Yes.
When I was, I can go all the way back.
Yes.
But when I was young, I used to want to be a lawyer.
Hold on, when you were young, how old was this? How many years ago?
I guess this was 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
It feels like decades.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Now you're old.
Just for the people listening, I just turned 19.
Congratulations.
I feel old saying that.
You're crushing it at life. Okay.
I appreciate it.
I'm sure your parents are very happy.
They're very traditional. They both went to MIT. They both got their PhDs. This is a big disgrace that I didn't finish college. So
hold on, we didn't even get into that story. Ethan. So hold on. Where were you going to college?
So I went to Carnegie Mellon for 3 months and I dropped out.
And this was last fall?
Yes.
And why did you drop out?
Well, I was at the voice research group there and I saw that we were hitting major strides in what was potential. And I was thinking back to my previous legal company and the biggest problem that I would see with firms, which is their intake. And I just thought,
let's hold there for a second.
Yeah.
We got so much ground to cover. So
I know. Sorry.
So you had 4 years ago, you had a company you worked in legal, doing what?
Yeah, I can tell the whole story for there. So when I was, I guess, 15.
When you were 15.
I really wanted to be a lawyer. I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, right? Like I did mock trial. I won nationals for government debate.
Congratulations.
I shadowed a couple prosecutors, did some internships. And then when I saw the day-to-day of being a lawyer,
you were bored.
Yeah. And I respect it so much and I love this profession. But I realized that probably wasn't what I wanted to do.
Okay.
I liked to build more. And so
you were very good at math.
I was, yeah. That was kind of
which is typically not, lawyers hate math, typically. Okay.
They would tell me that too, yeah. Because I would try and talk to them about numbers and they'd be like, I talk to my, ops guy, talk to my whatever. They wouldn't want to hear it.
So you were working in the legal industry, observing law firms.
Right.
You started a company.
Right. So I really wanted to start a company. I just wanted to build something. And so I went to all the lawyers I knew from like mock trial. And I was like, what's the biggest problem you have? And they all, in hindsight, probably said jokingly, it's like, I could use more leads. And I was like, great, on it. So I started a legal lead agency. And so
when you
I
were
would get
16?
When I was 16, yeah.
Okay.
And it was not a professional shop for sure. We did a ton of random guerrilla marketing that I don't even know was ethical. Like we would like sponsor Alcoholics Anonymous meetings to try and find if there's any like criminal defense cases there. Like I got leads the craziest ways possible.
Which is why lawyers need to be cautious of what lead companies they're working with.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I probably wouldn't have bought leads from me if I knew how unethical the way I was getting leads were. But this was what I was doing when I was 16. And I didn't see any issues with it at the time. Yeah.
Now you're wiser.
Now I am wiser. But that's how I got my start. And
what happened once you got these lawyers, these leads?
Yeah, the thing is they would get these leads and they would just drop the ball on closing them, right?
So they had an intake problem.
They had an intake problem, exactly.
Every lawyer thinks they have a marketing problem. And I promise you probably have an intake problem.
Yes. And they don't know the numbers either, right? Like
Correct.
They would know how much they're spending on marketing. They would know how many leads they're getting per month. And they would know how many cases they'd get per month. But the process, that sort of black box in between there, they just said, oh, Lisa handles that. And they wouldn't really think about it. And I was looking at their conversion rates and it was abysmal on the leads that I was giving them. And they'd ask for more leads. And I'm like, that's not your solution here. But
you got a hole in your bucket.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was where I originally encountered this problem.
So that was actually a critical insight that you had by doing that.
Yes.
And, a lot of marketers in the legal space will have the same experience.
Yes.
They will say, you guys have a major intake flaw, most law firms.
Right.
So fast forwarding, now we're back in the future. You are in the present. You dropped out of college this past fall. You said that you were doing some type of voice project in Carnegie Mellon. What can you say more what that is?
Yeah, so Carnegie Mellon, they have the #1 voice research lab in the world.
And that's why you went there?
I went there just because they were the #1 AI school in the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And so when I went there was just so much stuff and I got really interested in voice.
Which is like the next level coming.
It is one of those things that have yet to be solved. And so it was just so exciting to me.
I use ChatGPT a lot on my cell phone. And one thing I notice is I prefer to use it in voice.
Yeah.
Like I like to just talk stream of consciousness into it rather than type.
Right.
I don't know, for whatever reason, my brain just it operates better in speaking rather than typing into it.
So that's the interesting thing. 70% of people prefer to call rather than text or type whenever it's a situation in which they need to deliver some more information than a simple text.
Yeah. So like if it's something simple, a text or typing is fine. But
Right.
especially when I have to describe something complex,
Right.
it's harder to put into words.
Exactly.
And there's like a pain point to having to type it. So I think you're onto something for sure. When you told your parents, I'm dropping out, well, can you say what exactly prompted like you to go and say, I'm going to actually drop out?
Yeah. So first off, me and my friends, we kind of just made something. And at the time, we didn't even know it. It was close to cutting edge, but we just made something that would work for law firms. And, I went back to some of my law firm friends and I said, hey, like, check this out, try and use it. And they did, and they're paying for it. And then we ended up, like a pure whim, applying to what's called Y Combinator.
Okay. Now I know what that is,
Yeah.
but I want you to explain to the audience exactly what that is.
So Y Combinator, for people that don't know, it's the sort of secret accelerator that builds all the products and companies that you use and love.
Give some examples.
Like DoorDash, Airbnb, Instacart, Uber, Dropbox, Reddit, OpenAI. Those were all incubated and started with Y Combinator. It's this sort of like small group in Silicon Valley where they grab some exceptional technical minds and they make those people create companies.
Amazing. So you just on a whim apply.
Yeah, basically on a whim apply.
And what happens?
We applied, we heard back and got an interview within like the next day. And we had the interview I think 3 days later. And then we got in. They tell you within 5 minutes whether you're in or off.
And what does it mean to get in?
What it means is you get $500,000 and you are relocating over to San Francisco and you have to, drop your job, your school. Mostly it's job, but in our instance, it was school, and go full time with the company.
Okay, so ring, ring. I'm calling my parents. What am I saying?
So I called my mother, actually. Okay. She was the first person I called. And I was like, Mom, I got in the Y Combinator. She knew I was applying. She knew I was interviewing. She was like, oh my God, that's great. Right? Like, so excited. I was like, I know. I'm dropping out. She goes, what? And then I was like, I'm dropping out. And she's like, no, you're not. And then we had to have the whole conversation. And it went from super excited to like, wait. But, I flew back to my hometown. I talked
And where are you originally from?
Evansville, Indiana.
Okay.
And we talked it through. And she was like, oh, I can always go back to school. Like, I'm leave of absence, the president.
So you're a leave of absence.
Yes,
I'm sure they would love for you to come back.
Yeah. They text me about it every once in a while. They want my money to go back to school.
And also, like what I said to my school is, you guys will be proud that I went here one day. Yeah. So I'm doing you a favor. Yeah. Like, they'll be happy to have you back.
Absolutely. And that's why they let people do the leave of absence.
Yeah. So your dad was cool with it?
My dad has always been cool with everything. Yeah. So he was kind of just like, dude, do your thing. I think when I was really young, like 13, I was...
You have memories of being 13, 5?
It was 6 years ago.
Hold on. When did you get your license?
When I was, I guess, 2 years ago. Yeah.
You make all of us feel old.
In Silicon Valley, there are some kids that are founders and they call me Unc because I'm so old.
And these guys are like 15?
Yeah, running research labs, running like one of them owns a pesticide company where they invent pesticides. Yeah, and he's 16, 17.
Oh, wow. So you leave and go to Silicon Valley.
Yes.
How quickly from when you were accepted to showing up?
We got accepted in November, and then we moved out in January 1st. So first day in San Francisco.
What was
January
that
1st.
like when you first got there?
Well, the very first time we got there, I got to the house, and my co-founder, who had a package that was supposed to arrive there literally 4 hours prior, it was stolen. It was like his entire life belongings. And then we had...
That's terrible. I shouldn't laugh.
Dude, this is San Francisco. I'm from the Midwest. This was very shocking to me. And then me and my co-founders went to get 3 bikes from Facebook Marketplace. All 3 of us went to get our bikes. All 3 of us got scammed. Actually, I didn't get scammed. I went to the Tenderloin. I got the bike for $20. And then I brought it back. I locked it up outside. And then the next day, apparently someone used like, what's a box cutter? What's the...
Just cut the chain?
Yeah, they cut through the metal bar and they stole my bike. So that was the first experience I had for San Francisco.
Okay. So now you're within the community, you're living in the community of the Y Combinator community.
Right.
And what is that like?
I mean, you are surrounded by a group of just exceptionalists. There are Olympians in there. There are ex-CEOs. Some of these guys, like, they might have sold a company in their past for like 150 million. And so you are just surrounded by extraordinary people. And, like a group of us, like we go cold plunging in the Bay Area. Like we'll just jump into like the freezing cold ocean like once a week. And then we'll get like brunch afterwards. But these guys are the brightest minds and the people that are actually shaping the future of what tech is going to look like. So you kind of see like what the next 5 to 10 years of technology is actually going to look like before it's there.
It's the conversations that you're
Yes,
having.
Precisely.
So your whole life, were you kind of like an outlier, like in terms of intelligence?
I mean, yeah, I was a smart kid.
So what's it like to be around like people all that, are kind of like you?
It just feels right. I don't know. I think before then it was just like I knew I was going to be in a situation where I would be surrounded like people like that just in general.
To elevate you?
Yeah. It doesn't even feel like a weird thing. It's just like, this makes sense. Like these are normal people now.
Yeah. And like environment is everything. So
Right.
this
Right.
environment is actually going to probably 10x.
And that's the thing. Lawyers get the idea of the mastermind.
Yes,
Combinator gets the idea of the
absolutely.
mastermind. Like we meet up and we'll talk ideas, we'll talk strategies, share notes about different things. Like it's the exact same principle because there's other companies that are building an AI in different spaces and we're not competing. We'll just share tons of notes. And it's so powerful.
I heard you're like pretty popular over there.
Yeah, I mentor a handful of Y Combinator companies.
So you're mentoring some of them.
Yeah, yes.
And then you're being mentored.
At this point, I no longer am like in a sort of mentor-mentee position with like the
But
partners.
you were.
We were, right. So I technically graduated as of like a month ago.
Congratulations.
From Y Combinator. Yeah, thank you. And so now I'm just helping out other companies that were in my batch and in future batches. And it was really weird the first time because I was 18 and these guys are coming to me and they're like 35 and they were, ex high position at Google or Apple, and they'd be asking me for help and I'd be sitting through and walking them through like their processes and they'd be like, thank you so much. Like, can I buy you like whatever? And I was just so weird. I was like, am I supposed to be doing this?
Yes.
But, I've gotten used to it now and it's just, I'm so thankful for the situation we're in.
So in terms of economics in a law firm, what would you say is the value that people that are using this product, caseflood AI, are seeing just generally?
Yeah. I mean, for a lot of intake teams, they usually have callers where they're just calling in about a case or a situation which the firm just knows they can't help with them. And their intake team is going to be overwhelmed. And so a lot of these firms are saying like, hey, I'm sorry, we can't help with that. And they end the call there. And maybe they have somebody that like follows up on these cases to see if they can refer it out. But what we're able to do, because, Luna's an AI, she can talk forever, is she'll do a full intake for these people.
Let's say on a criminal matter, we could teach you.
Right. And so like, say somebody calls into Sweet James about like needing a divorce lawyer and they're ready to pay for a divorce lawyer. We can do the full intake. And then afterwards, we can just send over that lead to another firm instantly.
So what you're saying is that the referrals would end up being better.
Yeah.
Because we get a lot of referrals, but like they're very cursory in terms of the information we've taken. But we could go to our referral partners and say, hey, what would a good like intake look like in divorce? And we could upload that in our system. And then when we have these referrals, they're actually complete.
Yeah. And I think that's the big thing where it's like also you're going to actually make some really meaningful revenue for the firm passively through referrals.
A lot of referrals for personal injury firms, like we don't really see certain practice areas in terms of referrals, but there are particular practice areas that like mass torts. Like if we have mass torts built out, we could actually do a full intake for all the mass torts that our firm, gets calls for, and we could turn over all of those to, a mass tort firm, and they would have full intakes done by AI already completed on these. And that could be a huge revenue source.
I agree. And right now we're seeing with firms, and I don't know how, I guess I can share this. On average, we're seeing that firms that use CaseFlood, for every $500 they put in, they're getting about $500,000 out.
You mean in terms of case acquisition inventory?
Correct. New case acquisition, just in terms of either through commissions of referrals or through just these calls were not being answered properly. And so we're adding more revenue, more cases into their funnel.
Now, maybe it'll take 18 months to get that revenue, but it's still inventory.
Correct. So that's projected revenue, but yes.
Amazing.
So that's a number we're really excited about.
So people have money that's coming in their law firms right now that they're just not capturing.
Yeah. And I think they know that.
This is amazing, Ethan. What is your vision for where CaseFlood is going to go in the next year?
Absolutely. So right now, voice AI is still something where you're on the bleeding edge. If you're a firm that's choosing to adopt voice AI, you are choosing to do something that is not fully like planned out. It's still experimental, right?
We're riding the bike while building it.
Yes, exactly. Actually.
Yeah.
So, I think we're in the situation where we know this is the worst the technology is ever going to be. And we get so excited about that because we're still having these incredible conversations, 30 minutes, 40 minutes long with people. They have no clue to talk to humans. Some of them are crying and say like, thank you, ma'am, at the end and all that stuff.
Hold on. Let's just pause that for a second. We kind of glazed over this, but
Yes.
You're talking about the person's calling in.
Yes.
And I've seen a demo on one that you did recently where the person's calling in.
Right.
They don't realize they're talking to AI.
Right.
Although, what does it say when you first call in? Because it kind of does say.
No, it says like, my name is Luna. This is, XYZ law firm. Like, how can I help you? Or may I ask you?
Yeah. And then the person is talking.
Yeah.
And they may or may not really realize that they're not talking to a human.
Right. I think on our numbers right now, about 67% don't realize they're talking to an AI.
So more don't realize than do.
Correct. We want to make that 100 at some
And
point.
your goal is to bring it to 100. And then what does that allow the law firm to garner because they have this AI agent instead of a human?
I mean, with a firm recently, they didn't have anything out of office hours, or they had like I'm not going to name names, but they had a call center that was doing their calls, and they would basically just ask like name, contact information, general brief summary of what your case is. Thanks, I'll take a note and I'll send it over. That firm basically, like those cases, they were not converting at all. Surprise, surprise.
It's just a message taker.
Yes, exactly. And so we slotted in there, and the ROI is pretty good.
So first step was a firm says, hey, after hours and nights and weekends,
right.
I'm going to try an AI agent.
I think that's the way to get your toes wet.
Okay. So they now have this AI agent on, and during that period of time, people are calling in. They think that someone's working.
Right.
And walk me through, like, they can stay on the phone for 30 minutes. Does that matter, the time that they're on the phone with the agent?
Well, what it would look like is somebody's calling in the bump of the night, they have this issue. And so they call the firm and they're expecting for somebody to just give them information, like what happens next? Like, can I get a lawyer to help me through this thing? And so we're there and we're taking them all the way through. First off, like compassionate, like, I'm so sorry I had to go through this. Like, that's terrible. We've seen a lot of instances like this, and this is always tough every time, right? And then we'll get a lot of rich information because, not every firm can take every case. And at the end, depending on the firm, we'll either tell them next steps, like either book a consultation, say that they're going to forward this over to the attorneys to see if they can take the case, depending on the practice area. And one thing we're experimenting with right now is like a soft close, where we're saying like, we'll send you an information packet, and the information packet is basically
a contract.
Yeah, like a retainer, some information about the firm, and the team follows up in the morning saying like, welcome to the XYZ law firm family. I'm super happy to have you on board. Like, can we send you, or can you give us your address? We can send you like a care package.
And we do believe long-term, the technology will get to the point where you'll be able to actually sign the case through an AI agent.
Correct. So right now, I think if you were to put an AI agent to actually sign the clients and put them on retainer on the call, it wouldn't go great. You're looking at something like my estimate is like a 20% conversion rate there. Just because then it gets a little contentious and it's like back and forth, and it requires a little bit of human expertise there. But I know for a fact that in my estimate is maybe in the next 4 months, we'll get to the point where an agent will take an inbound caller from like confused to closed.
Okay, so that's the goal.
Yes.
And what other data can you collect with the AI agent? I mean, I think for me as a law firm, I want to know, what is the person's most pressing concerns? Like,
right.
What is the thing they've prioritized as their pain point on the call?
So we look to see, like, first off, like, on the side, like, what are their biggest fears, their desires with this? Because we also want to do like a chaser and like follow-ups and give the team sort of ammunition to make sure that client closes. But a lot of it is just trying to really connect with them and also show them that the firm is really knowledgeable about the case. We actually will go through some of these calls where it's a little more complex in terms of the situation they have. And the client will be like, whoa, yeah, I mean, yes, that's a very good sort of synopsis of the situation I was in.
Yeah. And because it's an agent, they're not really rushed to get off the phone.
Exactly. That's the other thing.
So people, I mean, I've always said people call law firms to vent.
Yes.
They feel they've been, there's not been a just situation.
Right.
We basically are part-time therapists.
Right.
And then when you're just like, well, tell me quick what happened in your case and let's get off the phone. It's like,
And that sucks.
yeah, it's not an ideal experience for a potential client.
And it feels like a precursor to what the experience is going to be like moving forward with the firm, even if that's not the case.
Okay. So in addition to all of this, there's some other things like that I think could be helpful with an AI agent. Every law firm is getting calls that are not within their practice area. Right. We're getting family law calls, divorce, criminal calls of all different things.
Yeah.
And it's putting a heavy burden on the intake team and the answering service.
It is. So
what is your approach to that?
So with some firms, what we've been doing is we will take all the calls. Like, we are the first line of defense. And then, if it's an existing client, we'll get them to the case manager, who they need to talk to, whatever.
And you can document the CRM?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so that's another piece. Because I have had intake agents that work for me that they're supposed to document the file. And this is what it says. Had call with client.
Yes, exactly.
They didn't fill out the intake form. Why? The client said very pertinent facts that never made it into the CRM.
Right.
So that to me is like a really big gaping hole, even when using a human or an answering service, because of the level of human error. And people just, like, one of my driving forces to implement AI throughout the whole firm, we build an AI native law firm, is the idea that there's volumes of evidence and things that are happening on calls that's never making it into the file.
Correct. And so I think at minimum, if you're really hesitant to use a voice agent, which is fair, at least use an AI transcriber to make sure that all your calls are being transcribed and that notes are being summarized into your CRM.
How many law firms do you think are doing that?
2%.
Okay. So if you want to compete in this space, which is a very, competitive space, this is an edge up.
It is. And I'm surprised it hasn't been happening, because I would go in and I would see intake notes. Like, I've done intake
that are horrible.
And it would literally be, had a call with client or talked to client about X.
Talk to client about their car accident. Meanwhile, the client also mentioned 25 other things that were super relevant.
Their medical treatments. Yeah.
And then the worst of the worst is if you call a law firm, you pour your heart out to them, to the intake agent, you give them your whole life story, everything that happened. And then on the next call,
they ask the same thing over again.
Hey, can you tell me about your case? Absolutely. And it's like, I literally just talked to someone for 45 minutes about this. And what is wrong with you guys?
And I think that's upsetting, especially there are some firms where they'll have one team of receptionists and then one team of intake specialists and then another team that are just closers.
Yes.
And so all 3 times,
they're not transcribed to the file. They have to tell their story over and over, and it's exhausting.
And I feel really bad.
It's a horrible client experience. And I think the use of AI is getting all of that information into the file and not forcing the client to have to regurgitate it again.
Right. And one thing we do too is whenever we pass over a client, we'll say can I put you on hold? Let me see if I can get in touch with one of our attorneys. We'll call up the attorney and say, hey, I have Amanda in the line. She had XYZ situation with whatever this is this. Do you want me to pass it through? They say yes. And so they already know. And they can ask a couple questions back and forth, but they already know the situation. So they come in, hey, Amanda, tell me about your car accident. Or I heard you got into a car accident, whatever, right? And it's just a much cleaner handoff, just like a human would.
So, we're talking about all the uses of AI in terms of intake, which I think if we kind of recap, some of it is making sure the data from intake that's so critical gets automatically put in our CRM. There's a lot of human error in intake in terms of data actually not ever making it to the file.
Right.
We're talking about a better client experience in terms of, sometimes the AI or sometimes the actual intake staff says the wrong thing. Intake has a lot of variance in every different person that works on the intake team. And so, there's a little bit more you can mitigate when you have an actual AI agent. It's not going to just, say random stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think also for costs, we're talking about the reduction of massive costs to have this run through AI. I still think the naysayers and people who are really not deep into AI are going to say, I can't believe that somebody is going to want to talk to an AI agent.
Yeah. And I think that's extraordinarily fair because it is a really sort of scary prospect. And I think the only way that you could sort of push down those doubts is if you get a demo, right? You actually see what it sounds
try
like.
it yourself.
Right. Because that's usually the thing that shuts them up.
And I also think that people need to open their mind to look at what has happened in the last 100 years. Everything that people said couldn't be done is being done. So you have to kind of have an open mind that this will come.
Yes.
And it's just a matter of time.
And if you think of the technology right now where you're like, wow, that sounds pretty good, but I still don't know if I would use this in my firm. Once again, this is the worst the technology will ever be. And in the AI world, things improve by the day. New things get released like every single day. Every single week is like a just whole new paradigm of AI improvements.
One of my frustrations in AI in terms of the tools that have been available to the legal community, particularly PI, personal injury, has been that a lot of the tools, as a law firm owner, you buy a tool, you have access to a tool. Okay, it can do different things. Let's say it can write letters. It can, analyze data. That was really cool. But as the owner of the law firm, what we found over time was if you had 12 different team members that worked at the firm, all of them adopted or utilized that tool very differently.
Yes.
So it was still heavily reliant on the staff. And, you spend all this money, you have all these tools, and now you find out 3/4 of the team is not using it. Right. So you've added costs, in fact. You haven't saved any money. Okay.
And it's really hard to find ROI there.
And then it's like, well, how do I justify this in my budget?
Exactly.
I want AI. I get it. It's here. I think it's going to be the thing of the future.
Yeah.
But so far, it hasn't really, maybe it's sped people up. But realistically, you haven't been able to really find any cost savings. Yeah. And you're still like really relying on the person. We get a lot of pushback. A lot of the staff didn't want to implement the AI tools. Yeah. What I've been thinking lately is that the products that we can implement as law firm owners, which completely remove a team member from the circuit, actually might have a better chance of truly saving the firm money versus a product that is requiring someone to use it as a tool in their day-to-day. Do you think the AI agent you're developing will eventually fully replace? So let's say you have 20 people working in your intake department or 5 people. Do you think that you're going to be able to get to a point where the law firm owner can say, I only need 10 now. I used to have 20. I only need 10.
We're already seeing that. We're going to get to the point where the law firm owner will say, I don't need any.
That's your goal.
That's what's going to happen.
Okay.
That is undeniably where the technology is going to go. And running a firm will be cheaper and easier. And everybody's going to have perfect intake funnels.
And what will happen to the law firms that do not adopt?
It's the same thing as the law firms that say, we don't need a website back in 20 years ago.
We don't need social media.
Right? You can just kind of wait for retirement and you can just kind of live out the rest of that career. Or you can actually build a firm that's going to be able to compete with the modern technology using firms.
And if you adopt this faster than anyone in your market, what do you think that will do?
If you have better margins, grossly better margins and better intake funnels with higher conversion rates. You'll be able to put more into ad spend. You'll be able to buy like the best attorneys in your space, right? It's just the traditional things that'll let you outcompete everybody else. And so obviously there's a ton of benefit there.
Yes, I love it. So you have garnered the interest of Alex Hormozi,
Yeah.
among other people. So can you tell us that story?
Yeah. I mean, so Alex Hormozi, for people that don't know, he's the ultimate marketing process operational bro. He has an incredible following of people in the SMB space, and he knows intake. He's actually helped, he told me it was something like 100 law firms actually figure out their intake. He calls it inbound sales process, but
Yeah.
because it is, but same thing, right? And so Alex Hormozi, I always looked up to. I thought he was, just incredible person in mind. And so on demo day, Y Combinator.
Tell us what demo day is, because everybody is not, as savvy in our audience.
So Y Combinator culminates in this thing called demo day. And demo day is just this frenzy. So at the end of what they call batches, it's like, school year in most colleges or whatever, but Y Combinator has batches. So at the end of the 3-month batch, there's a thing called demo day, where all the companies go up there and they present their company, they pitch their company to a crowd of the most prominent investors in the world. And so there's thousands of investors, and you go up there and you pitch your company.
And Alex was in the...
He was not in the crowd. No, he doesn't come out to stuff like that. But someone from his team was.
Okay.
And so that day was insane. People were throwing around hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars without even taking meetings. They'd just be like, take my money. Will you take my money? And they'd be like, no, I can't take your money. They'd be like, I'll give you double, right? It's crazy. And one of the people I met was this guy, Zach Choi at acquisition.com.
Okay.
At Alex Hormozi's team. And at this point in the time, my round was already closed. I wasn't taking any other investors. Like, we had more inbound demand for investors than we could handle. But I talked to this guy. He was just a cool guy. We chatted for a bit. And I mentioned that we actually used one of Alex Hormozi's closing tactics for our follow-up sequence. And he said, oh, no kidding. He's like, that's really, really cool. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, wait, he just see the cap, and he turned around his cap.
No.
And it said acquisition.com. And I'm like, do you work with him? He's like, yeah, no. So this is ACQ Ventures, acquisition.com Ventures. And I was like, oh, no kidding. And so from that moment, I knew like I needed to get these guys in the cap table. And so the process of getting was just a bit of back and forth. They were super cool. But now we're going to be launching out to almost all the firms that they advise. And I think in their upcoming sort of press launch, they're going to announce that they invest in us too.
It's so exciting. That's a big honor. I really am proud of you.
We were super excited about that.
I mean, I think social proof is something, everybody loves following Alex on IG, and, he's got a lot of wisdom to drop.
He's the king of content.
Yes,
sure.
yes. So, Ethan, we're going to head down to lunch. It's been great chatting with you here today. Do you have any final thoughts, any future ideas, or what you think is going to happen in AI this year? Any insights you can leave us with?
I think this is the year of voice AI. I think
in all respects.
Yeah. I mean, I think in this industry the most, a lot of under industries, the application of voice AI to make it viable is a lot easier, right? Like replacing the sort of healthcare like phone tree, which it's like a 35-minute queue, like replacing that with anything is going to be better. But just now are we seeing the point in history in which AI is physically capable of fundamentally changing the unit economics of running a law firm. Able to replace basically your entire support staff, making firms leaner, faster, better run. People that don't try and experiment as much as possible with agents are going to have practices that are bloated, slower, and eventually going to be outcompeted. And so
you heard it first here from Ethan. So I hope that in a year from now, we'll be having a follow-up conversation and we can hear all the advances you've made in 2025.
That sounds great.
I'm grateful for you to be putting your intelligence in our industry. We really need this type of tech. Legal feels like it's slow to adopt.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really excited to see where this goes.
Love to hear it.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Ethan, for joining me today on Tip the Scales podcast. And if you liked this episode and found these insights on AI mind-blowing, go ahead and subscribe, like, and comment, and we'll see you on the next episode.